All right, next up we have the female reproductive system. And there are going to be a lot of different organs in the female reproductive system. So here is just a kind of a starter, slide to help give you some definitions to all the terminology. The ovaries are going to be the female gonads. These are going to lie in small, shallow depressions, one on each side of the upper pelvic cavity. These are going to be responsible for producing the eggs, also called ova. These are going to produce the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. The uterine tubes, or also known as the oviducts or fallopian tubes, extend from the uterus to the ovaries. Now, these are not going to be attached to the ovaries. They have sort of like finger-like projections called fimbriae. After ovulation, the fimbriae are going to sweep the egg into the uterine tube. Once in the uterine tube, the egg is going to be propelled by ciliary movement towards the uterus. Now, the eggs are going to live approximately 6 to 24 hours. Fertilization usually takes place in the uterine tube. After fertilization occurs, the embryo will implant after several days, where it's going to embed in the uterine lining. The uterus is a thick-walled muscular organ. The uterine tubes are going to join the uterus at its upper end. At the lower end, the cervix is going to enter into the vagina. Now, cancer of the cervix is a very common form of cancer in women. This is usually detected with a Pap test, which is the removal of a few cells from the cervix for microscopic examination for any abnormalities. A hysterectomy is going to be a complete surgical removal of the uterus. An ovohysterectomy is when you remove both the ovaries and the uterus. The endometrium is going to be the lining of the uterus. This is going to be responsible for supplying nutrients needed for embryonic and fetal development, and it's got two layers. There's a functional layer that is shed during each menstrual period and a basal layer that is responsible for reproducing cells. The functional layer is going to vary in thickness according to a monthly cycle called the uterine cycle, and we'll go through both the ovarian and the uterine cycles a little bit later on. So the vagina is going to be the last structure that we're really going to discuss. It is a mucosal lining, it has a mucosal lining that is folded and can stretch. This is very important during sexual intercourse and during birth, that this muscle can actually stretch out. This also allows the menstrual flow to exit. Now, there are several different types of bacteria that reside in the vagina, and they're ultimately responsible for creating a pretty acidic environment. Now, that acidic environment prevents the growth of pathogenic bacteria, but sperm prefer a basic environment. So this is going to be one of the reasons for the seminal fluid, is that it provides a sort of basic or slightly more neutral environment than the acidic vagina. So here is sort of an overview of all of those, or a diagram that shows all of those different structures that are found in the female reproductive system. An orgasm in females. Upon sexual stimulation, the labia minora, the vaginal wall, and the clitoris are going to become engorged with blood. The breasts are also going to swell, and the nipples tend to become erect. Now, the labia majora is going to enlarge, redden, and spread away from the vaginal opening. Fluid is going to seep into the vagina to help lubricate it. Mucus-secreting glands beneath the labia minora are going to provide lubrication for the entry of the penis. Now, this is an extremely sensitive area. The clitoris can actually swell up to 2 or 3 times its usual size. The thrusting of the penis and the pressure of the pubic symphysis of the partners can help stimulate that clitoris to expand. Blood pressure and the pulse rate are going to rise, breathing quickens, and the walls of the uterus and the uterine tubes can contract rhythmically. Now, this is going to cause the eggs to start moving. So a sensation of intense pleasure is typically followed by relaxation when organs are going to return back to their normal size. Females do not have a refractory period. Multiple orgasms can occur during a single sexual experience. So here is a diagram that's going to summarize the various reproductive organs and their role. Like with the male reproductive system, I strongly suggest creating some flashcards and then using those to help talk your way through the different organs that are located in the female reproductive system and what their role is. All right, so you should be able to distinguish the structures of the female reproductive system that produce the egg, transport the egg, house the developing embryo, and serve as the birth canal. You should also be able to explain the purpose of the vagina and the uterus in the female reproductive system, and then discuss why, and I know we didn't talk about it, but this is a great area for you to discuss and speculate why the urinary and reproductive systems are separated in the female.